Howdy folks, it's Nitro Big Dork Energy back again to talk about a game I've been playing for over a decade in some capacity. An Arma 2 mod turned standalone game that ended up inspiring other hits like PUBG and Rust and so much more. Oh, and interestingly enough, as of November 2023, so 7 months before this video and 11 years after the game's standalone release, it has broken its current player record. We're talking about DayZ. DayZ has absolutely steamrolled my free time recently, and I figured now would be a good time to share why I love this game, in the hopes of finding some of you sitting on the fence about it. Of course, I'll cover some of the ugly as well in a kind of shit sandwich format, as my grade 12 philosophy teacher used to say. But before we get to meat and potatoes, let me just say, we really appreciate any support, whether it be a like, a subscription, a membership, and just viewing our videos. It all goes a long way and drives us to keep delivering content, whether it be these narrative videos or our more comedic gaming videos. Thank you. Now, on to the good stuff. DayZ offers a lot in terms of gameplay, immersion, and interaction for new players and veterans of the hardcore survival genre alike. We're going to take a look at the base game flaws, and let me tell you, there's some doozies. And then we'll move on to one of my favorite aspects, the mod experience. So like many survival games, DayZ drops you in with a few very meager supplies in the middle of buttfuck nowhere with zero tutorial and nothing but the occasional coastline to orient yourself. Note, you can use the sun to navigate as well, but holy shit, when did games require me to use actual skills? From here, you're kind of on your own to explore and loot, hellbent on fulfilling Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Food and water aren't too hard to come by either by looting or hunting and cooking. You should be able to stay alive for a bit. Although you gotta be careful of the sources you consume from, as they may make you sick. Rivers and lakes are a bad idea unless you've got something to clean it up, like chlorine pills. And don't even think of eating or drinking with bloody hands. If you're sick, you'll gradually start making more noise via coughs and sneezes. It's just a bad time. So if you ever see this symbol, try to find a hospital or med tent and get some tetracycline tablets in you. There are, of course, many other ways to slowly die. That might not occur to a new player until it's already too late and they're out of bandages with no refuge in sight. While the game in and of itself may not be realistic, it has many fine details that can be quick to bite you if you're not paying attention. Sliding down a ladder without gloves on will rip your hands open. Running around without shoes will make your feet bleed every few steps. If you break a limb, you'll need to splint it to be able to even heal, let alone move around with any sort of purpose. Wound treatment is no joke. Combat with zombies can be tricky enough off the hop, especially as weapons and corresponding ammo can be a little hard to come by. Staying quiet and out of sight is probably your best bet early on. When needed, you can perform stealthy takedowns if you have a knife. Zeds can usually be lost if you put a door between you and hide, or you get height and you lay down. What you really should worry about is other players. Experiences with players can vary immensely. Some folks you find will be kitted to the nines and will put a bullet in you before you can even ask them about their day. Some will want to team up and still put a bullet in you. Some will take you off to see a cool base they constructed only to trap you inside and leave you to starve. But every once in a while you meet someone who isn't a prick, and you and your newfound apocalypse buddy can take on the treacherous world of Chernarus or any of the various other maps as a team. These interactions can be some of the best experiences offered by DayZ. Hell, getting into a team firefight can be intense, as the gunplay in this game is actually a lot of fun. Although, once again, some of the realism creeps in. Guns jam. Mags need to be manually reloaded and kept in accessible parts of your inventory to be swapped out quickly. A bullet is a bullet, and it doesn't take much to kill a player. Although sometimes you'll luck out and only pass out, only to wake up bleeding and gasping for air as your enemy searches for your body to loot. Speaking of loot, where does one take all these ill-gotten goods? Well, given the time-consuming nature of base building in DayZ, those with enough time to build and maintain a base can construct a humble abode to store their extra goodies. Although securing these bases is a lot more difficult in the base game. Regardless, there's no shortage of things to do in Chernarus and the other available maps, and just exploring can often lead to interesting experiences. Alright, so I've talked the game up a lot, going over a lot of things I really like about the game, but I gotta point out some issues as well. While it's not an issue with the game, DayZ is not easy. It's got a hell of a learning curve, does not hold your hand, and can be stupidly time consuming to get your bearings and to get a point where you're geared up to your liking, and even then, all it takes is some Chad up in a tower to bring it all crashing down on your skull, and you're back to square one. Not saying this to discourage, but just a fair warning of what you're getting into. Speaking of time consuming, there's a lot of running involved with this one. The stamina and carry weight system can add a lot of time to your travels. As someone with limited game time these days, I play a lot of modded servers that make this a lot less of a problem, but we'll get to that in a minute. It's a fairly large map with a lot of assets, and the game is optimized as it should be after over a decade, so you'll notice running around, or especially driving, that sometimes assets take a while to load in, among other graphical issues. I do have to add that rubber banding in a vehicle in this game can be hilarious and terrifying, so keep an eye out for that. Crashes happen, and I'm talking game crashes, not car crashes, though those will happen too. I guarantee. Depending on your hardware, it could be more often than not, so just keep in mind, make sure to look into the requirements. Melee combat. Ugh! It's gross, it's clunky, it's bad, and don't get me wrong, I'm terrible at melee combat in this game, but it's also deep fried shit. So be prepared to get frustrated as you get used to it. There are probably a dozen or so things people hate about this game that I didn't mention that will end up in the comments, so looking forward to reading those. Okay, so we went over the intense immersion of the base game and the million ways to die, and then we covered some of the rough edges and common issues people have. Now for my favorite thing lately, modded servers. The modding community is huge, and for DayZ, there is no exception. And goddamn, are there some hard-working modders out there. You can easily, with a little searching, find the exact experience you're looking for, whether it be more focused on PvE or PvP or PvEV, PvE, whatever. Most of my favorite servers have some form of trader and currency that allow you to sell your loot to buy new weapons, building supplies, and even vehicles to cut down travel times, and zombies. And we're talking more than just the vanilla cars from DayZ. People have added ATVs, Ford Raptors, Mustangs, and even BMWs, so you can drive like an absolute fuckwit in the zombie apocalypse just like real life. Gun mods typically add dozens of new boomsticks and corresponding ammo and attachments. Armor and clothing mods allow you to take a few more hits and carry additional gear, so much so that you'll be min-maxing your inventory in no time. I mentioned before that I don't have as much time to game as I used to, so stamina mods that either extend your stamina or sometimes make it unlimited for running can be huge for gamers on the go, or those who don't have the patience to stop and breathe every 10 bloody seconds. Plus, many modded servers come with a map for those who don't have the urge to memorize massive maps by slightly different town layouts and eliminating the need to navigate the tedious way. Most of these map mods also allow you to mark locations as well, which is super handy. There are quite a few new maps to play on, from tropical islands to snowy landscapes, and even real-life locations like New York City. There's a lot to explore and play around with. Expanded crafting and base building can be an exciting experience, as well as you construct semi-impenetrable fortresses to store your loot, cars, and all the goodies. Some mods even add new terrifying enemies, and in some cases AI bandits, to take on if you're sick of dying to just zombies and giga-chads with 50 cal snipers. So, whether you're looking for something new after playing the base game, or would rather cater the game to your specific tastes and playstyles, there's plenty to mess around and experiment with. While still flawed, I think DayZ is still a pretty solid game even now in 2024, and I highly recommend picking it up if any of this video has appealed to you. Make sure to like this video if you know you liked it, obviously, and drop a comment about your favorite part of the game or if you've got any questions. I might try and put together some more DayZ content in the future, so let us know if there's anything you want to see. That's it for me, and we'll catch you next time, or maybe out in the game. I promise, even if I shoot first, you'll probably still wipe me out.
Can you throw it? Holy shit! That was awesome.
Hold on. I gotta equip. Oh, man.